Sup guys, welcome back. Today we're going to be continuing doing our inventory over in our Stalker themed series. So in the last video, what I have set up is so you can approach items, you can pick them up, and then you can display some slots over here in the inventory. But right now we haven't set up the slots to be showing the actual thumbnail of our items, and I haven't set up yet the stackable inventories over here in our code. So let's go ahead and do that. Actually, first of all, I'm going to set up the item slot so we can actually display the correct images. So I'm going to go over here into our designer on our item slot. I'm going to select the image, then I'm going to bind, and I'm going to into the details, and I'm going to choose the thumbnail. So this is going to choose the image of our details over here. So now if you play, you can go over here and we can pick this up, and you can see it shows us both of the images. Now let's go back and check if these items are stackable or not, and they are stackable. So let's test this out. So let's go into our widget blueprint inventory. Now we're going to be setting up the stackable inventory. So let's go into our item slot. We're going to need to add a variable over in the graph, and we're gonna call it num of items. So this is going to store the number of items in the slot. It doesn't need to be exposed, I think. So let's go back into the inventory, and then we're gonna need to create a little function over here. So let's create a new function. Let's call it is already in inventory, and this is going to be a pure function. So let's go over here and make it pure, and it's just going to receive an input of the item, and it's going to be of the type item details, and it's going to give us an output which is already in env, and it's going to retrieve as a boolean. So let's compile, and let's go back into the event graph. Let's just set up this main code. So let's drag these already in inventory, and now we're going to the item we're going to get from the array element. Now we're going to set up a branch over here, and if this is true, meaning it's already in inventory, we're going to want to add a slot. So let's go back over here and drag this to the false. So if it's not in inventory, you want to create a new slot. So there are no slots over there. And another thing that I'm going to need is I'm going to need to keep track of these item slots. So I'm going to create a new new variable, and I'm going to call this all env slots, and this is going to be of the type of item slot object reference. So WB item slot reference, and it's going to be an array. So it's got to be of the type of your item slot over here. So let's get this, and let's create a little bit of space before we do this. And now we're just going to type add, and we're going to add this into the array. There you go, the return value from the create widget. So now you got stored all the slots, and I'm gonna have to go into the already used inventory and add a new output that I forgot. And it's just going to be so I'm going to need to get a reference from the slot, which is going to be again an item slot over here. So now I'm going to get this, and I'm just going to get the num of items, and I'm going to put a double plus, so I'm going to increment, and this basically just adds 1 to the number of items. So if it's true, I'm just going to add to the stack, and if it's false, I'm going to create a new slot and add it to our array here. So now we got to set up just one more thing in the item slot, and it's going to be, let's go into the designer, and now we got to set up over here this little text, and we got to create a bind for this. So I'm going to call it bind underscore num of items, and let's append. Let's drag this up. let's get the number of items and connect it to B. And for the A, I'm just going to add an X, and I'm going to compile and save, and that's all we need to do in the item slot for now. And now we got to set up the code inside our is already in inventory, and now we got to do we got to get the all in slots. We got to do a for each loop, and now we got to get the details of each one, and we got to compare. I'm going to break this, and then I'm going to break from the item that we are putting in the input, and I'm going to connect the names, and if the names are the same, if we find an item, a slot with the same name on the details, we're going to say that this is true. So I'm going to call, wait, there's something, yeah, I deleted the output, so I'm sorry about that. Let me just Control Z this, there you go. So I'm gonna add a branch, so because I need this information, and if this is true, that means we found a slot with the same name. I'm going to say is already in env to true, and the slot is going to be the array element. And if it's false, you're not going to connect anything, but on completed, if this completes, it means that it's not already in inventory, so we need to create a new slot. So you got to do this, and it should work fine. So I think now we can play and see this happening. So let's try with the server. Let's pick up 2 items. Okay, so it is not creating extra information. Oh yeah, I know what the problem is. It's because if you go into the in item slot, num of items, and you go into the defaults, basically this is going to start at 0. So we want to change this to 1 because the default number of, if you have a slot created, that means that there is at least 1 item in there. So you need to set the default to 1, and now it will work. So let's pick up. We pick up 2. We got 2 items. Pick up another one. We got 3 items, etc. So you got 4. Now let's try this with the client, just to see that it's replicated. It shouldn't make a difference because this is all client side, because it's in the widget. But you can see that it works. We have 2 items over in our inventory. And if we check the other client, just to really make sure, we can see that our inventory is empty. So there you go. So that's basically how you have how you add stacking into your items. So what I want to do next is I'm going to want to create a new widget blueprint, because now let me just show you. I'm sorry to get back into it, but let me just show you. If I pick up an item now, when I actually over the widget, I want to bring up a widget with the details of the item that I'm overlaying, because right now I can only know the number of items that I have and its thumbnail, but I want to have a little widget appear on mouse position with a description of the object and its name and its weight. So I'm going to create a new widget blueprint. I'm going to go into widgets, create a new user widget, widget blueprint underscore item details panel, and I'm just going to import the texture. So let me go over here. I have this over here, item description texture. There you go. This is also from the STALKER, so it's just a texture with you know, some gray texture. It's just not to be like a static color. I wanted to have some kind of pattern. That's why I'm using this. So I'm going to go into the items details panel, and I'm going to add an image. And this image is going to be the item description texture. And you can see the size of the image over here, but I think I'm going to need to do the size over here as well. So 475 by 380. There you go. You can see there are some errors over in the texture, but this is just a placeholder, so it's okay. So now I have this widget. I'm not going to add any information yet, but I'm going to go into the item slot, and I'm going to set up a the code for creating that widget. So you can see over here, if I go into the event graph, I have something over here. Let me delete that. It's called isOver. You can just type it in, and this is basically going to tell you this is going to turn to true while your mouse is over this slot or over this widget. So you want to go into the event tick, do a branch, and this event tick, there you go. And if this is true, you want to do a do once, because this is the tick, and now you want to create a widget. This is going to be of the type item details panel, and then you want to promote to a variable and call this wb underscore item details panel, and then you want to add it to the viewport. And now I'm just going to add a sequence, so I'm going to Alt S and click. So I want to do this once, and then I want to do I want to get this, and I want to set the location. I don't remember the name. Let me just type location, or get mouse position. There you go. Get mouse position on the viewport, or get mouse position scaled by DPI. The player is get the owning player, and now I want to drag from over here and set the position in viewport. So drag from the den, and the position is going to be, let's split the struct pin and connect X and Y, and also connect the return value. Actually, no, you don't need to do that. Leave it that true. So you want to remove the DPI scale. Actually, do you want it? Yes, because if you are already calculating by the DPI over here, you do not need to scale it again. So if you scale it again, it's going to be wrong. So let's leave it at that. And let's also make sure, let's go into the items detail, and let's go over here into this image, and let's make sure on the visibility it's it test invisible. So it's visible to the user, but only as art. The cursor it test will never see this widget. You want to do this so when you're overing, this is going to spawn at the center of your mouse. So it's going to spawn over there where my mouse is, and if this is not it test invisible, it's going to basically overlap your collision with the mouse, and is going to stop the logic from the item slot over here. So you do not want the item details panel to be detected by mouse collision. So you just wanted to leave it with it test invisible. So while we do this, we're setting the position, and I think that's it. So let's try this out. Let's play. Let's pick up two items, and now if I overlay, you can see that now it's a little bit further away. I think that's because of the DPI. It's probably because of one of these settings. Let's just get the mouse position. Let's not scale it by the DPI just to see how it looks. There you go. Let's connect the item or pick it up. Now you can see the widget of the items is showing the correct place. And now you just need to now do some check, because you can see that the widget did not get destroyed. So when this becomes false, so let me just get some space over here. When this becomes false, you want to just get this and remove from parent. Now if you play, you can see you have this. Now if you get your mouse over, it gets destroyed. Oh yeah, I forgot one thing. Never mind the errors. You need to reset the do once this becomes false. So when you actually over it again, the then 0 will create the widget again. So that's important. Don't forget to do that. So now let's pick this up, and now you can see it's working fine. So now I'm just going to what is this, errors? Yeah, so before you actually remove from parent, drag from the items details panel, type in this is valid, and it will get rid of those errors. So connect the executive, and you only want to remove the parent if this is valid. There you go. And now I just want to go into the designer of the item details panel, and I want to start putting in the information. So I'm going to set up a vertical box on the image. Actually, you can't do that. Okay. So I'm going to replace with a border, I think. Let me get a border over here. And just leave it selected, and now if you right click and do a replace with, it's going to appear on top, replace with border. And now I'm going to set the image to the item description texture. There you go, it's going to be the same, but now you can actually put a vertical box on the border. So now you can start putting in your text and stuff like that. So let's do over here on top, let's make sure the font is a little bit small. I'm going to put this to light, put it on the middle. And now this is kind of, you know, visual stuff. So I assume you already know how to work with widgets. So I'm just going to now put the text over here. I'm going to try and do it quick. And now I'm going to pick up a spacer, put it in between with a Y of 5, I guess, or 15. That's a little bit better. And now I'm just going to go into the bind. Actually, I forgot something. Item details panel, go into the graph, create a new variable, and call it the details, because you need to pass on that information over here. Make these of the type item details. Make it extendable and exposed on spawn. Compile and save. Go back to your item slot, to your graph, and now where you create the widget, right click and refresh the node, and now just connect the details from over here. There you go. So now that will pass on the details over here. So now if you go into the designer on the item details panel, click on the text, go into bind details, and you want to bind the name. Now I'm gonna want another text box over here. I'm gonna make it a little bit smaller. So I'm gonna go to 12. And over here I'm going to want to create a bind, because this is going to be the weight. So bind underscore set the weight. I think that's how you spell weight. Okay, so let's append the string, and it's just going to be get. Oh yeah, I think I forgot that. I didn't even create a weight in item details. So yeah, let me just go back into our data, blueprints, items, and item details. And now this is the cool thing about a struct. So you just add a new variable, call it weight. I'm just going to put this over here behind the type. Gonna make this actually a float, not an integer, a float. Now this is the cool thing about structs, is that now everything is updated. If you go over here, you have the weight variable over here waiting for you, which is awesome. And I'm just gonna go into the sub items, test item, details, and oh yeah, you gotta compile your master items first, so it actually now it actually will update the weight over here. I'm going to set the weight of this, I guess, to 0.75, and I'm going to be working with kilograms. So I'm going to connect the weight into A, and then B, I'm going to add a space, and then kg. That's going to be it. And I'm going to want another spacer, and I'm going to want another text block like this one, and this is going to be bind details description. And now the description is a little bit harder. You need to set it to be I guess fill, and you're going to set the justification to left, and you can add a little bit of padding to the left side, like a 5. And now you can go over here into you know, the default text, and now you just start typing a lot of stuff. You know, just you need to see how it looks. So you can see that it goes over the widget. So now you gotta go behind there, and over here where it says auto wrap text, you need to set that to true, and it will auto wrap the text. And I'm going to allow per character wrapping. So this way, if you have a default, you know, like a big word, so I'm going to set up a big word without any space, you can see it cuts out the word so it fits the space. So there will be no bugs when you do this. So I'm going to compile and save. And yeah, I think for the details right now that's going to be enough. So let me just check. Let me just check the graph details. Let me go into the default. So we are showing the name, the description, the weight, the type. There is no need. The thumbnail is already on the slot. The item mesh, no need. Animation BS, no need. And class, no need. So I'm displaying the information that I went to. So now let's go and see how this looks. Let's play. Let's over this. That's weird. That wasn't happening. What's happening? I think this is happening because of the is valid. Let me see. Let me override that and see if it does the same. Yes, it does. What the hell? It didn't do that before. Oh, I know why. You need to go into the border, because remember where I changed the visibility to test invisible? Because I changed the image to the border, the visibility thing disappeared. So you need to set that up again. And now it should work fine with no flickering. So pick up an item, and you can see test item, the weight, and then the description. Obviously, you can then add more information if you want to. Like if it's a weapon, you can set up, show some weapon details or whatever. But I don't want to. I'm just going to leave it like this. And if I have any weapon details, so I'm going to show you an example. Imagine if this is a weapon. So I'm going to edit this, and I'm going to call this a weapon. And now in the description, if I want to show stats for the weapon, I'm just going to say standard military grade assault rifle. Let's say something like that. I'm going to hold shift and enter. Oh, it doesn't. Oh, okay. I wasn't expecting that. So you can't add lines in a variable of a string. So okay. So I'm just going to do it. I'm going to say weapon. Then I'm going to say. I'm going to add a lot of spaces. I'm going to say damage underscore 50. And then I'm going to say rate of fire underscore, I don't know, 4 bullets per second. Or you don't need to add the spaces. I think you can just leave it that. Like just leave the name and then open parentheses. And you can just show it like this. I guess it's fine. If you want to, you can add into the details. You can add the actual weapon stuff, so like weapon fire rate and stuff like that over here. And then you can create new text over here to show that. But I rather just show stuff like in the actual description. So now if you go, let me actually just show you that the can stack works on false. And I'm going to make this a full auto weapon. So I'm going to play, and now if I pick multiple items, you can see that they are still stacking. Okay, that's weird. And I just found a bug. So if you close your inventory while hovering a widget, it won't be removed. So you can see that you know, the description looks good, but the stacking isn't working correctly. So let me go into the inventory, designer, actually no, event graph. So this is never being called. Oh yeah, I forgot to make a check over here. You want to make a check before you do this branch. You add another branch because you need to check if it's stackable before. So expand this, get stack, connect this to the condition, and you want to get this from the details that are coming from the array. And you only want to check this branch if this is true. Because I didn't have to check, this was ignoring if it can stack or not, and it was just stacking anything that was already inside the inventory. So I forgot that little step over there in the code. So now if you pick up 3 items, you're going to have 3 items over here that are going to be the same thing. And now if you go into the items, let me just close this, and you set it to stack, and you pick up the 3 weapons, and they're going to stack. So there you go. So that's working correctly. And now I just need to fix this bug. Let's go into the item details panel. So you need to make sure, let's go into the event graph, not the details panel. Yes, it is the details panel. So let's go into the event tech of the details panel. Let's get the owning player pawn, I guess. Let's cast you the master human. Actually, not the master human. You want to get just the owning player in general, because you want to cast to the player controller, my player controller, and you just want to know. Let's get the inventory. WBINV, and you want to check is visible. Or not is visible, but is valid. Let's go into our play controller. When you open our inventory and close it, we are removing it from the parent. So let's just go and check if it is valid. And if it is valid, you don't want to know anything, but if it's not valid, you want to remove from parent. So that way, now if you play, let's try all of this with the client this time, just to see that it works. Let's pick up the items, they stack. Now if I close the inventory, oh fuck. Okay, so it's still not working. Well, that's interesting. So the thing is, when you destroy the parent of this where you create it, I think the code stops running and it just is left on the screen. I think I have another way to do this. Let me just delete this. Let's get over the item slot, and there's going to be an event called deconstruct. Let me just go into the events. There you go. Event destruct. Call when the widget is no longer referenced, causing the sled resources to destroy. Should I construct this event can be called multiple times. And when this is destroyed, I'm going to check if the items panel is valid. Come on. And if it is valid, I'm going to remove it from parent. And technically that should work. Let's try this out with the client again. Pick 2 items. There you go, now it works. Now if you are overlaying and showing the details and you close the inventory at the same time, it's going to disappear as well. So okay, that's fixed. That's what I wanted to do. So that's basically it. That's how you pick items, and that's how you stack them or not stack them, and you can show the details on a special overlaying widget. So that's it. So in the next video we're going to work on drag and drop. So you're going to be able to drag and drop this and place this basically inside of your your action slots. So you can later on work on equipping weapons or quick using food or a drink or something like that. So we're gonna set this up. So yeah. Yeah, that's gonna be the next video. So if you guys want the project file, check out Patreon, or if you want to help me, I'll appreciate that. And yeah, thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you all in the next video. Bye bye.